Good morning. It's another wonderful zero DTE trading week. It's Monday, April 14th, and this is the zero DTE morning market analysis. And we got a pretty exciting week ahead of us. Not that last week wasn't, it was unbelievable. You only come across weeks like that, and with volatility elevated and the type of macro events that occurred, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in a generation. And so you should keep that in mind, because I know that a lot of members, they got very excited about volatility being way up there, thinking that there is some innate way that they could get in there and just kill it. And that's not true. It's not true. First of all, we simply don't have the data. The statistical data to back that up. I mean, in other words, we don't have enough occurrences in order for us to say, yeah, every time this happens, you should do this. It's just crazy, So you don't want to take big chances. Sure, there's lots of opportunity, but there's lots of opportunity in any day for a zero DTE trade. So the biggest or the best advice that I can give you in times like this is to just stick to the plan. Do what is necessary. It's just another day. We have a playbook that says, hey, when we're up in this chaos zone of volatility, we trade this way. And we do this kind of profit management. There's really no difference. Make sure, above all, that you keep very, very small position sizes, risk. I mean, in particularly in this type of environment, these can be YOLO trades for crying out loud. You can put on super small risk and get huge returns. You just don't know. But it does give an opportunity to go much wider with smaller risk. But you'll have to put the trades out so far that you might think, wow, this is just crazy. There's no way price is ever going to move that far. But, it has proven otherwise, right? Now, over the weekend, we've had some interesting developments that we need to keep in front of our minds because they could change things dramatically. Well, for one, you may have noticed that this morning the VIX has dropped significantly, but it's still extremely elevated. It's above 32, I think, right now. We'll go to it in a second. But it has dropped, and I expect it to drop even further, maybe into the Goldilocks zone, maybe into the 20s today, because there have been some developments on the U.S.-China trade talks. And there's been some concessions made on both sides. The market likes that. I'm sure the NASDAQ will like that, mostly in the area of electronics, so companies like Apple will certainly benefit. But they're so we got to watch that, and I think that that's going to spur a rally today, and hence the title of this particular show, or the focus element. But we also have the counterpart to that is also maybe contributing to this rally, but it's kind of on edge, and that is the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire, and Russia, I guess in principle, is saying, yeah, but we want concessions. So if those talks break down, that could really put a hammer in the gears of this rally. So we need to keep that up on the forefront and see what's going on. All right. So that's the situational analysis for today. Now we're going to go back and take a look at our zero DTE trades and see where we are. It's not very difficult, in this type of environment. You just have to make sure that you're not of the mind that, because of all this volatility, I'm just going to bank it. No, stick to the plan. That's the most important thing that I can tell you. Stick to the plan and you'll do fine. And that's not what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you. Let's see if I can get to it. Reading backwards. Trading view. There we go. All right. So here's our playbook. We put our playbook on the VIX chart because all of our plays are really forwarded by wherever the VIX is, because that's the most impactful thing that's going to happen to us as 0DTE options traders. And you can see we're at 33.31 right now in the VIX, and that's a significant drop from last week. I mean, last week we were up in the 40s. So it looks like, at least according to this, that we're down about 11% on the VIX. And that's a healthy drop. I expect that if we get a rally today and everything goes well, in other words, Russia doesn't come back and then just say something unbelievable, or Trump doesn't say something incredibly dumb or smart, who knows? Or one of his team members comes in and says, who knows what could possibly happen? Because we have those two biggies on the forefront. There are no real economic reports to speak of. There is a Fed governor speaking today, but I haven't really looked in that. I don't expect that to be hugely impactful. The two biggies are U.S.-Russia trade relations and U.S.-China trade relations, and Ukraine and Russia ceasefire negotiations. Those are the things that can really send this whole market to a tizzy or send it to the moon. All right. So anyways, Batmans are really still our strategy du jour right now when we're way up here. And although we're down low enough now, we can consider out of the money flies. So if you're just thinking, hey, I just want to put a single out of the money fly, that's perfectly valid. And if you're going to do that, make sure they're super wide, somewhere between 45 and 60. I would imagine you want to go to the wider side. Once you go beyond 60 on the SPX, it's a diminishing return, so there's no need to go much wider than 60. If you want more width, you want more power, then consider the NDX. With the NDX, you can go up to 200 wide, and there you're going to see some but make sure if you put the NDX on that the strikes are on the quarters. In other words, the strike should be on 00, 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents. That's where the liquidity is going to be. All right. So big ass fly this morning is sitting around 10. We'll take a look at that in a second, but that means that we should be favoring the wide side, obviously. In chaos, that's 60 wide. Let's take a look at that and see what's going on there in Thinkorswim. So, nope, that's not it. We got to go to Thinkorswim. Yes. Right, 1050 this morning right now. So there's our at the money butterfly, $10.50. That's, man, you don't see it. Last week, we saw it as low as $3.50, which is the lowest I've ever seen it ever in my entire life. And I've been watching this thing for 15 years. So not my entire life, but a very small portion of my life. At least as long as I've been watching 0DTE. Yeah, $3.50. Prior to that, the lowest I'd ever seen is $7.50. So that was quite an accomplishment. And so at $3.50, think of that. That's actually a better risk to reward ratio than our normal out of the money flies, which we usually do at a 10% of the width of the fly. So a 50 wide fly, you would think $5, and most people look at that as way too far out of the money, but this was at the money, $3.50. That's crazy. All it really is telling you is that at $3.50, it's so cheap that there's no way you should expect price to hang out there at the money. That's just crazy. But anyways, let's continue with our analysis. We'll go back to TradingView and take a look at the market direction. You can see here we're gapping up this morning, and this is on the ES, so that's a true gap up. And I think we can expect a rally higher if everything stays as is. If U.S.-China is good and they start patting each other on the back saying, okay, let's go, and Ukraine and Russia don't do anything to blow up things. I imagine that's the wild card. That is the big wild card. So we got to watch that. But as it stands now, we're looking at a bullish day. So if you are doing a single out of the money fly, it should be a call fly. And let's now go back to our structural levels. We need to go down to a 5-minute chart for this. And of course, I haven't drawn them yet. We always look for entry of a strategy in the morning session, because that's when volatility is highest. But I don't know what highest means right now with with the kind of volatility that we're seeing. But generally, the morning session is 9:30 to 12:30. That's where we favor. And so we're looking for, if we're going bullish, we're looking for pullbacks into one of these structural levels. This is the top of a node. Let's check out to see where we are in the big picture. All right, so we're making our way through this very low liquidity volume node. That's why I think not only do we have news with us and macro events with us, but we're in the middle of a massive volume node, which means there's low liquidity. And so I fully expect that we're going to make our way up and maybe breach the bottom of this node at, looks like it's at 54.10 or so. All right. So you can see that 2 times last week we came up here and found incredible resistance and then just got shot right back down. But now we've broken out of this lower node here. And we can bring in a little bit more of the market so you can see the strength of this node down below here. So we've broken out of this node, we're in this volume well, and we're moving up towards this other node here, which has been fairly prominent for some time in our trading. So I expect that we'll break into here and probably hang out here for the next few days, at least until everything settles out with Ukraine and Russia. We ought to look at, see what's coming up for the coming week too, in terms of market reports. Let's see. I'm just bringing this into. Hold on, just give me a second. I wasn't prepared to do this. I just want to see what this week looks like. Oh, okay. All right. Let's take a look at this. So there's one other thing that I forgot to say is that Friday is an off day. There's no trading on Friday. Is that because it's Easter? I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. But in any event, like I said, today we have FOMC member Waller speaking at 1 p.m. That might throw, there could have some impact there. Tomorrow we only have Empire State Manufacturing. If it is hugely positive or negative, that could throw. But generally, in this environment, that's going to be a low-end thing. But then on Wednesday we have retail sales and Chairman Jerome Powell speaks as well. And then, of course, unemployment claims on Thursday, nothing on Friday. So, interesting week. I think that this is kind of like a breather week. That's how I feel. Let's just take a breath and just sort of sit back. And in any case, like I said, follow the plan, trade small, make sure your risk to reward is appropriate. And, don't go overboard and you'll do well. It was a really interesting week last week. Members made tons of money, and mostly we were putting on Batmans and putting them way out of the money on either side, taking very little risk in the middle. Almost looked like it was impossible to ever reach that, but in some cases, people made money on both sides of the trade. That's how crazy this market is. All right, so that's it. And I hope you all have a great trading week. If you're interested in learning more about how to trade 0DTE options, go down below. There'll be a link, and you can join our school academy. We call it the 0DTE Academy. It's a school community. And it's a fantastic value, best value in my view on the internet for any kind of service. You get 2 coaching calls. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a coaching call coming up in just 2 hours on that service, and it's going to be live. I will be talking about one of many different topics, and you have a chance to ask questions directly. So check that out. There's an entire course on there detailing our entire 0 DTE strategy, process, methods, and you'll learn how to really bank on this remarkable trading strategy. All right, there we go. Thank you very much. Coach Ernie, out.